Hey there, Space Cats! Thanks for joining me for another video. This is actually the first video that I've shot since Russia's invasion of Ukraine and all the sadness and trauma that it's brought to the world. So, although it seems perhaps a little trite to be making YouTube videos to put out there when so much is going on, I kind of feel it's my duty to carry on as normal, because that's what people across the world who are suffering in wars and various other things are fighting for. I was listening to a podcast the other day that really helped me. The podcaster was saying that the people of Ukraine and also people in other places across the world where war is happening are fighting for peace. So it's our duty and privilege to carry on and do the things that we would normally do, while obviously keeping that in our hearts and wishing them peace and love. With that in mind, today's video is another draw with me. If you're suffering from anxiety or worry or feeling traumatised by what you've seen on the news, then maybe this will help you a little bit. It's certainly helping me. Grab your pencil or your brush of choice and let's see if we can let go of a little bit of that anxiety. Today's story is that of the tortoise and the hare. A hare was racing up and down the field. "Look at me," he said. "I'm so fast. Did you see how fast I was?" And he turned and ran up and down the field again. The badger and the fox rolled their eyes. Hare was always boasting. He screeched to a halt in front of them. "You could never beat me in a race. Actually, nobody could," said the hare. "I could," said the tortoise. "You?" scoffed the hare. "Don't be ridiculous. You are a very slow tortoise. You have slow little legs and a slow little brain." "Really?" said the tortoise. "So you don't mind having a race with me then?" "Of course not," said the hare. "It's just a total waste of time, but I don't care. I like running anyway. Shall we start now?" "No," said the tortoise. "Next week. I need to do some training first." The next morning, Tortoise started his training. He did some stretches and walked from the oak tree to the rabbit warren. It took him all day. The morning after, he did some Pilates and then walked from the oak tree to the pond. It took him all morning and most of the afternoon. Each morning, the tortoise increased his exercises and the distance he walked. He was beginning to feel very fit and strong. The fox and the badger shook their heads sadly. There was no way the tortoise could beat the hare. Even with all the training, he was still the slowest creature in the field. Would you be the race judge?" the tortoise asked the fox. "Of course," said the fox, feeling more than a little sad for the chap. He marked a line in the earth to start from. "You must run from here to the big beech tree on the far side of the field," he said. The hare was raring to go. He adjusted his headband for the 50th time and got into the runner's starting position. The tortoise ambled up and put his best foot behind the line. "Ready, steady, go!" shouted the fox. The hare streaked off like a spaceship into orbit. The tortoise coughed at the dust the hare had kicked up and moved off at his usual speed, mooching along the path to the beech tree. The the badger and the fox sighed. They knew this meant more unbearable boasting from the hare. But the tortoise wasn't put off. He just kept putting one foot in front of the other. On and on towards his goal. The sun was high in the sky and the birds were singing. It was a beautiful day. Meanwhile, the hare looked back over his shoulder and saw a tiny dot in the distance. He chuckled to himself. That silly tortoise, fancy thinking he could beat me in a race. I'm halfway there and he's barely left the start line. He stopped under the oak tree. You know, he thought, I'm a fair sort of chap. I'll give him a fighting chance. I'll take a quick nap under this tree, let him catch up. Then when he's gone past me, I'll catch him up and still beat him. Perhaps he won't feel quite so bad then. So, the hare made himself comfortable under the oak tree. The sun was hot on his furry little face, and soon he was snoring and dreaming of mushroom stroganoff. The tortoise was having a lovely walk. Although he was slow, he was catching up with the hare, who he could now see was snoozing under the tree. In fact, he could hear him before he saw him. His snores were that loud. The badger and the fox couldn't believe it. The tortoise soon overtook the hare, silently putting one foot in front of the other. Slow and steady wins the race, he kept telling himself.
By Gumbo,
whispered a rabbit.
I think the tortoise has half a chance of winning this.
Shh, said the badger. Don't wake Hare up. So everyone held their breaths as the tortoise got closer and closer to the beech tree and the finishing line. He was just a few short bunny hops from it when the hare sat bolt upright. He had slept for much longer than he'd anticipated. The sun was low in the sky, and to start with, he couldn't remember why he was there. Then it all came back to him. He jumped up, just in time to see the tortoise one bunny hop from the finish line. The hare shot off down the path and crashed past the line, but too late. The tortoise was already the other side. I won, said the tortoise. That's not fair. Everyone knows I'm the fastest, said Hare. Well, said the fox, I'm afraid you are not today. I declare Tortoise the winner. The animals of the field all cheered, although some of them did feel just a little bit sorry for Hare too. I'll tell you what, said the badger. Why don't we all bring some food and drink and have a little summertime celebration? Great, said the hare. I've got some homemade jam. It's the best jam ever. No one makes better jam than me. I am the king of jam makers. Some people never learn. If you'd like further artist tutorials, I have a variety of short courses that will help you. There are real-time sessions looking at painting, drawing and marker pens, among others. And if you're keen on producing your own book, there is a more in-depth course on what you need to know about self-publishing a book with illustrations. That covers making key decisions, how to make layouts and dummy books, rhythm and pacing, as well as several tutorials on illustrating a book and a look at the tech. you can either hop over to my website or join me on Patreon for more information. Go on, give it a go! Okay, that's just about it from me today. I am twickered out. Next week I am bringing you to work with me. I'm doing some jobs at the moment for a lovely magazine, so I thought I'd bring you along and show you what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, and where I start from. I'm off to surprise my family with a pot of jam, because I am the best jam maker ever. I will see you next week. Nanu nanu.